Meaghan Scanlon here at Bunyaville Conservation Park. I'm joined as well with the CEO of National Parks Association, Chris Thompson, who's the new CEO, and also Senior Ranger Andrew Kingston, who can answer any technical questions you might have about some of the upgrades that are happening here. Well, it's wonderful to be here today. We, of course, have so many incredible national parks and conservation parks across this state. Some of them are less known than others, and in the lead up to summer, we're expecting to see so many people flocking to our national parks. There are many popular ones like Tiwa Beach, Gari, where we know we're expecting to see lots of people come to. In fact, over the summer break, we're expecting to see around 140,000 camping nights, I should say, and 26,000 vehicle permits issued. So there's lots of people who will be flocking to these areas, but there are a whole lot of other hidden gems that we want to encourage Queenslanders to get out and experience. In total, we have over 540 conservation and national parks here in Queensland. Some of them are less known than others. We're spending a lot of money in this state upgrading some of the facilities within this park, but we're also investing to try and grow that estate as well. But we want to launch a bit of a campaign called the Hidden Gems campaign. We're encouraging Queenslanders to go and visit one of these hidden gems, hop onto the Queensland National Parks website, their Facebook page or their Instagram page. On the post, in the comments section, share your favourite hidden gem and any pictures that you might have taken to go in the draw to win up to $200 worth of vouchers. So there's 2,000 all up, so 10 $200 vouchers up on offer to BCF. So you can purchase some of those camping equipment that you might need for the summer break, and of course a great Christmas present as well. So really encouraging everyone to explore our beautiful lifestyle. We have so many incredible parks here. We know that sometimes Christmas can be a bit tough, so this is about providing some relief to families. That is a great present to give to a loved one to experience our great outdoors here. I might hand over to Chris now to say a few words, and then happy to take any questions. I should also say, we're doing some upgrades here at the Bunyaville Conservation Park, over $600,000 to upgrade the day use area. So doing some work to the car park area and of course some of the picnic spots so that people can come here and enjoy this beautiful place. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Minister. It's great to be here today representing the National Parks Association of Queensland. We're a not-for-profit organisation. We're here really to advocate for the protection, expansion and the good management of these beautiful national parks and conservation parks we have here. We're very grateful to the Minister and the Government for committing to doubling the size of the National Parks estate over the next 10 years. So the Association will be working very closely with the Minister and her National Parks team over the next 10 years to really grow this beautiful national park system. And what we've seen, particularly during COVID, is people getting out and about, reconnecting with nature, spending time in nature. They haven't been able to go overseas or interstate, so they've come and they've rediscovered their national parks and conservation parks. So, again, building on what the Minister's just said, we'd really encourage people to go and explore, go discover, go find your little place in nature. We know the science is quite clear. Spending time in nature is good for your health, it's good for your well-being, it's good for your stress, it's good for your emotional intelligence, and for kids, it's really important in terms of getting out and exploring. So we're going to be running a kids program next year, expanded kids program in parks, making sure kids are getting out and about and active, because we know every hour they're outside is an hour they're not cooped up inside or on a device, and we know that's good for their health and well-being. So look out for more with the National Parks Association next year. We'll be running an activities program, and thanks again to the Minister for inviting us along today.
I'd like to ask you a quick question,
Yeah.
Chris. I guess have you seen, we were speaking before, you've seen a lot of people kind of start coming out and camping, exploring their national parks since COVID. I mean, is it a great way to get out and kind of have a cheap holiday if you've already got some of the gear and explore?
Absolutely, and I think with the BCF vouchers, obviously BCF is a camping and fishing and outdoor organisation, so we're encouraging people to get their gear and get outdoors. The last 2 or 3 years, particularly with COVID, we've seen a record numbers of people going out exploring and camping. And it's beautiful to see some of these day use areas and some of our campgrounds getting upgraded because it is a very cheap holiday, and cost of living pressures for families at the moment is really, really high. So if you can save a few dollars and the kids can have a ball, parks like this one, you can actually bring your dog on a lead. So it's easy for the whole family to get out and have a great time.
And you were also mentioning the different parks that you're looking to kind of expand and acquire. Where are you kind of doing that at the moment?
Yeah, so we're working with the government to try and identify areas that we can acquire as part of the system. Obviously, we've got a lot of parks in the coastal area, and so we're really looking out west to see whether there's some beautiful areas out there that we can pick up into our park system. We've got a 10-year program ahead of us to acquire double the number of national parks we've currently got. So it will be a slow process, but every single piece of land we can put into the national park system is about a legacy for our future. So yeah, thank you for the government for putting $262 million on the table for 4 years of national park expansion. We'll be working very closely with you to achieve that goal. Thanks, Minister.
Thank you.
Excellent. Any questions?
I think I've mostly just got questions health-wise. I think you've answered all my questions.
Yeah, yep.
Excellent.
Thanks, Chris.
So, yeah, speaking about hospitals, why was the PA asked to cut $9 million from its budget?
Yeah, so the advice I've received is that there is no cut to the Metro Health funding. So any accusation of cuts is incorrect. In fact, we are delivering a record health budget across the state. I'm more than happy to get Queensland Health to provide that greater information. They can do that today. But as I said, there has been no cut to the Metro South Health budget.
And if there, would the hospital be able to work on a $9 million cut? It's already, the whole health system is already under strain.
There has been no cut to the Metro Health budget. There has been an increase to our budget across the state. In fact, we're delivering $10 billion worth of investment to try and deliver and build more hospitals as well as expanding beds across this state. We're also focused on making sure that we expand the front line because we need to make sure that we have new hospitals, but we also have people who can work in those jobs. So nurses, paramedics, all of the frontline staff that we absolutely need to run these hospitals. We are investing record amounts, and we're also investing in the mental health space by providing a mental health levy. That takes a brave government to take on an initiative by bringing in that levy, but we acknowledge that this is a problem and an area that we need to deliver vital services to Queenslanders, and that's why we have delivered that over $1 billion investment in mental health over the next few years. Now, in relation to some of the comments by the Leader of the Opposition today, he has some nerve making any accusations around cuts, given that when he was last a Cabinet Minister, they sacked and cut over 4,000 nurses in this state. They ripped the guts out of the health budget when they were last in power, and they have no credibility when it comes to health.
If there's been no cut, has there been a reallocation of funds?
Queensland Health can provide that information for you, but there has been no cut to the Metro South budget, so they can provide the further information.
So when you're saying there's been no cut to the Metro South budget, that's across a number of hospitals. We're speaking about the PA. Is it a possibility that the $9 million has gone from the PA to another Metro South hospital?
Queensland Health can provide you with that information. As I'm sure you can appreciate, I'm not the Minister for Health, so I don't have all of the finer detail. But overall, there has been a significant increase in our health budget, but they can provide that detail around that particular hospital and all of that finer information.
Are you saying that the Leader of Opposition is lying?
I'm suggesting that the Leader of the Opposition frequently gets up and says one thing and then the facts demonstrate something different. He also gets up and says one thing and does another thing in Parliament continuously. He went to the last election, in fact, promising less money for the health budget. There would be less health staff if the Liberal National Party was elected, and there would be less hospitals if the Liberal National Party was elected. David Crisafulli is a Gold Coast MP where I live. They went to the election with a $4 million planning study. That was it. There was no investment for new hospitals, just a planning study. We committed to substantial upgrades and expansions of places like the Gold Coast University Hospital to deliver a new mental health rehabilitation facility, as well as investment at Robina Hospital, expanding services there, as well as a new CT scanner. We are the party who delivers investment in healthcare because we know how important it is that Queenslanders have universal access to good public healthcare services.
Well, I'm asking if there's been a $9 million cut to the PA hospital, and you're telling me there's been no cut to Metro South. So has there been any cut to PA hospital?
As I said, Queensland Health can provide all of that finer detail. I'm here as the Environment Minister today talking to you about some of the announcements that we're making to make some cost of living pressures a little bit easier for Queenslanders, to encourage people to get out. As you just heard from the CEO of the National Parks Association, getting out in nature is incredibly important for Queenslanders' health. We are continuing to invest in the areas that Queenslanders expect us to. We are continuing to deliver record health budgets in terms terms of that finer detail, we can absolutely provide you with that information. But as I'm sure you can appreciate, the best place to provide that information is by Queensland Health.
You're standing up and saying that the Leader of Opposition is being misleading. I'm asking you one question, you're answering it with a question, with a statement that doesn't answer my question, and you've only been briefed to a certain point. I mean, are you being misleading right now?
I just directly answered the question around the Metro South budget.
But PA.
I appreciate that, but as I'm sure you can also appreciate, I am not the Health Minister, I'm the Environment Minister, and you are providing me with a question in which I've told you Queensland Health can provide you with that further information. So I think that's fairly reasonable. I think people would expect that Queensland Health should be able to provide information around Queensland Health. Excellent. Yeah.
George, go for it.
Minister, the New South Wales Treasurer has said that he would support federal government moves to put a cap on coal prices. Would the Queensland government also support putting a cap on coal prices, or what's your position?
I understand the Premier's already made a number of comments in relation to some of the proposals that have been speculated in the media. Obviously, we're awaiting the federal government to put forward some recommendations at National Cabinet, and that's the appropriate place for those conversations to take place. So the Premier obviously will ensure that Queenslanders get a good deal. We are very lucky in this state that we have kept our assets in state hands, which means that we can ensure that the dividends that those generators make go back to Queenslanders. That's the beauty of having these assets in public hands, is that we can make sure that any money made doesn't go back to corporate shareholders, it goes back to Queenslanders. And we did that most recently through the $175 power rebate. So of course we'll look at all of the recommendations made by the federal government, look at how that applies to Queensland. We acknowledge that there are a lot of cost of living pressures at the moment, and we need to make sure we get this right, because Queenslanders expect us to make sure that we deliver cost of living relief for them. That's what we've done through the power rebate. It's also what we've done by providing pensioners with a rebate I should say, that the former Liberal National Party cut.
Yeah, but would the Queensland government support putting a cap on coal prices?
Look, I'm not going to say what the Queensland government's position is until we see those recommendations formally and the Premier has had an opportunity to make a decision about what impact that would have on Queensland.
Just looking at the recent decision in the Land Court about Clive Palmer and his mine infringing on the rights of Indigenous people, do you think that coal mines need to be should not be getting approvals anymore in light of climate change and the rights of Indigenous people?
The decision by President Kingham was a significant decision. It's an over 370-page judgment that has a range of factors included in it, and it also speaks in the first sentence about the fact that this decision was based on this individual application. So I've got to be careful with the comments that I make, because there are still pending environmental authorities and mining leases that are under consideration pending following that final decision. Ultimately, we will of course look at those recommendations and make a decision about the recommendations that have been put forward. We're the party who brought in the Human Rights Act. We're very proud of that, and so we'll look at this decision, see how it impacts on Queensland, look at the interpretation of some of those submissions, and of course we'll then make comment in due course.
Just in terms of whether coal mines should be getting approvals anymore in light of climate change and the rights of Indigenous people, do you think that coal mines should not be getting approvals?
Look, I think that there's sort of two separate issues, one which is in relation to human rights and property law rights, and again, as I said, it's a substantial decision that we need to take a look at. The other question is in relation to emissions, and what we've done is we have said that we're establishing decarbonisation plans as part of the resource industry development plan the Minister Stewart released. We also have right now the federal government looking at changes to the safeguard mechanism, and so I want to make sure that anything that we implement doesn't doesn't compromise the work the federal government is doing. We ideally want to see some consistency across the board, but ultimately all of those measures are about ensuring that any mine starts to decarbonise over time. We all know that climate change is a massive issue that we need to take seriously, and that means that every industry needs to play their part in reducing emissions, and that's why we released the Energy Plan recently, a $62 billion investment that will see the transition of our coal-fired power stations to clean energy hubs. It's also why we've released our electric vehicle strategy to try and incentivise the uptake of electric vehicles, as well as rolling out more charging infrastructure. And there's a whole range of other plans as part of our climate action plan that will look at how we support industry to make the changes we need to deliver on the emissions reductions our country and our state and our world needs.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
I was probably another one.
Excellent. Thank you.